What's up, nerds and nerdettes and wee little nerdlings all? It's your buddy Big Johnny G for Two Gun Pixie presents Legendary Gaming. Don't Talk to Strangers is a Stephen Rhodes game by Dynamite Games. It's good for 1 to 4 players, ages 12 and up, and should take you about 20 minutes to play.
Sorry to disappoint you. Huh? You triggered my trap card!
For a setup, each player is going to select a color, and they're going to take all of the kid tokens that match that color, and they're going to pile them up in front of them. You're then going to choose which side of the board you're going to use, side A or side B. For new players, it is suggested you start with side A, which is a shorter game than side B is. Then you're going to put aside a certain number of aliens. If you chose the shorter side, board A, then you'll take 8 aliens. If you chose the larger side, board B, you'll take all 10. Shuffle the move deck and place it face down into a pile. It's a large deck, so feel free to put it into 2 piles if you need. Then you're going to deal 3 cards to each player, and each player is going to keep their cards secret, known only to themselves until they play a certain card from their hand. Now, during this time, if any strangers or sorcerers are dealt in the cards, they are immediately discarded face up into the discard pile, as all discards are face up, and then you will redraw, and you will continue doing this until you have 3 cards in your hand. It suggests that the player who has been most recently inside a school building should be the first player. Now the winning conditions. When the last stranger token is placed on the board, the game will immediately end. Then, one at a time, each of the players is going to remove their scored kids from the scoring spaces and add up their total number of points. The player with the most points wins the game, and ties are shared. Alternately, you could break it down if there's a tie to the player that has the most kids safely at a safe, secure scoring space. Now, on your turn, you can take one of 2 actions. Either you can let a kid out of school, or you can play a move card. Now, you can only play a move card if you have a kid on the board in a non-scoring space. So to let a kid out of school, you have to have no other kids on the board in anywhere except a scoring space. And if you do meet that criteria, then you may place a kid from your supply pile onto the school space. Now, playing a card, if that is the one action that you choose, then you will play any one card from your hand, you will follow the instructions on that card, and then place it face up into the discard pile. Now, a few notes here. There is no limit to the number of kids that you can have on any one space, except for scoring spaces. Now, if the deck actually runs out, which it really shouldn't, probably wouldn't, unless you somehow in the beginning of the game when you were drawing up to your initial hand size, you discarded a lot of the strangers. That may cause you to reach the end of the deck before the game ends. If that's the case, reshuffle the deck and continue on with the game. Now, note that for each kid that you have scored in the park, that you can have an additional unscored kid running around on the board. So yes, normally you can only have 1 unscored kid on the board at a time, but for every kid that you have in the park, then you're going to be able to have an additional kid under your control from school running around trying to get home or to whatever scoring space you're trying to get them at. And also, for the purpose of moving your kids, any card that specifically reads home or mansion is specifically a home or a mansion. You cannot move a child into a mansion by a card that says move them into any home. Homes and mansions are read differently. Now, also for movement, let's take a look at the movement cards. You have to move the exact number of spaces that the card tells you, whatever the instruction on the card is. However, you can move into a scoring space. You can move into a home or a mansion, such as a scoring space, without the exact count. You can, so if you have a movement of 3 and it's only one move to a house or a mansion, you can just take that movement. Otherwise, anywhere else you are moving that is not a scoring space, you have to move the maximum number as the card tells you to. Now, also for moving around the board, keep in mind that red lines are walls. Unless a card tells you otherwise, you cannot break a red line. You cannot move through a red line. The yellow lines, on the other hand, are doors. If you want to get into that scoring space, that house, that mansion home, then you need to go through the yellow line. That is the door. Now, whenever a stranger card or a sorcerer card comes up, they are played immediately during the course of the game. Unlike the initial draw, where they're discarded, during the course of the game, they are played immediately. You play them and then you will redraw. That does not count as a card in your hands as it is played immediately. So if you have a 3-card limit, you've played 1 card, it is the end of your turn, you draw, and it is either a stranger or a sorcerer. You play that immediately and draw another card. If it is another stranger or sorcerer, yes, you will play that immediately. You will continue to do so until you get a card that is not a stranger or sorcerer to put into your hand and end your turn. Now look at the strangers. The stranger card, when it is played, you can place that stranger down in any spot that has a stranger icon on it. If there's a player has a kid on that spot, that kid or kids, if there's more than one, remember there is no limit to the amount of kids you can have on a non-scoring space, then that kid or children, they're all taken by the strangers. Also, that spot where that token is for the stranger is also impassable. You can't go past it. Now that brings up an optional third action that you could take during your turn, and that is to simply run away. Off the board, that's it, you're gone. And why you would do this, well, here's the example. If you are caught between 2 strangers, if there's nowhere to go on the board, then you can have your kid run away, so at least you have the option to get a new kid out from school to try to get home, mansion, scoring space. Now, when a sorcerer is played, when that card comes up, you play that immediately and redraw. And what you're going to do is you're going to pick any kid on the board, any kid, whether they are in a scoring spot, whether they are in school, whether they are in any space on the board whatsoever. If they are on the board, they are a viable target. You pick one kid, and then you take the UFO coin that has the UFO on one side and the kid hiding behind the mailbox on the other side, and you're going to flip that. You're going to send that flipping through the air like tossing a coin, so it hits down on the table, and whatever side shows up, that is the result. If it is the UFO, then that kid in that space that you have designated are gone. They are abducted. They are taken away by the strangers, the aliens. If it shows the kid hiding behind the mailbox, then that's safe. They've successfully hidden from the aliens. So those are the rules in a nutshell, and I hope that it helps you have as much fun with Don't Talk to Strangers as me and the 20-Sided Warriors have been having.